This used to be one of our drag racing roads back in the day, right here. So as you can see, this thing is long and straight. So we used to do a lot of drag racing back in the day. As a kid, I remember I had a little mini bike. So a little Honda 50 when I was 5 years old. Got it for Christmas one year. I remember riding my little Honda 50 up the side of the road, like in the ditch, to watch my dad and Ricky Cleveland and Brad and all these guys race. Teddy Tedder, just it was awesome back in the day. So my dad and my mom were always into cars. That's just something that we always did. And I remember as a kid, I didn't know any better. I thought everybody did that. I had no clue. I actually didn't know that there were other interests out there. Like, I didn't know that people actually golfed. I just thought that was something that you saw on TV. But I guess my whole point of this video is, you know, I always kind of reminisce every time we come over here. Every time I come over here, I can't help but think about all the good times that we had and the way that I grew up. You know, I grew up different than a lot of people. I know that there are a lot of you out there that can understand, but you also probably understand what it was like to grow up as a car kid. You know, like when most kids are into Nintendo, or back in the day at least, were into Nintendo or Atari or whatever, you know, we were into cars and motorcycles and anything that had an engine on it. And I couldn't relate to kids my age. I remember as early as like third grade trying to have a conversation with somebody about a carburetor. Now, I didn't know exactly what a carburetor did, but it's something that I knew, and I was trying to make conversation because I was so interested in it, and nobody wanted to talk about that stuff. It actually took until I got into high school that I met some people that shared the same interest. So shout out to all you guys that I went to school with. You know, Ray and Finger's a good friend of mine, and you know, we were always into cars, and my buddy Ben Hobby, and you know, I say these names and you guys don't know who they are, but I like to give shout outs to let these guys know. Chris Hardy, Stephen Tatum, you know, all these guys that I grew up with. You know, it left an impact on me, and those were my car buddies. Josh Houston, obviously, that was my homie right there. We were like brothers. Here's another drag race spot right up here, though. I'll show you guys that we used to go to. So this is the same road essentially, but as you can see, there's a stop sign up here, and that road right there is Centerville Church Road, and it is very, very, very long, and that's where we used to race. You know, you always hear me talk about nostalgia and what these Fox bodies mean to me, but it's a really hard thing to explain. Cars in general, okay, not just Fox bodies, but cars in general really help make some of the best memories that you'll ever have. Or a kid, like maybe your child, you don't realize it. I don't even realize it sometimes, but my kids are going to remember these cars. They may not ever be into them like, you know, I am, or like maybe you are, but they'll always remember them. You know, first time daddy took them for a ride in the car, or spun tires, or, you know, went fast, or just remember, you know, riding with you to the store, you know, early one morning or late one night, or whatever the case may be. They'll remember your friends coming over and hanging out and talking cars. Although they may not seem interested now, at some point in their life, they'll look back on it and more than likely have some fond memories. So, you know, that was a big part of my life growing up. My dad, you know, had friends that come over. All of his friends were into cars. Michael Scarborough, you know, Justin Scarborough is a friend of mine. There again, guys, I love, you know, mentioning my friends' names and people that I know. A really clean SN that sits right there. There are Mustangs and Fox bodies everywhere down here in the South, guys. We are basically, where we're at is the corner of Alabama, Georgia, and Florida. We're right here. I mean, look, just people have hot rods and toys and stuff everywhere around here. There was a Fox body right up the road that I'll probably video on the way back. I'll get you guys a clip of it that sits there. I mean, they're everywhere. My buddy Justin, he's got a I got 2 Fox bodies actually. They're just everywhere. David Caesar's up here. Guys, look, they're everywhere. They're everywhere over here. Something else I want to say is never forget where you come from. I know the economy's jacked up right now and things could be a lot better, but we have it better in a sense than we ever had, or at least me growing up. I grew up in a small town in Blakely, Georgia, and we didn't have a lot. I didn't know a lot about the world. We didn't know, internet wasn't a thing and stuff like that. So it was harder to achieve your goals. I'll say that. If you didn't work for some plant or factory or farmer, chances are, guys, it was going to be hard on you. Nowadays, money comes a little easier. I mean, I hate to say it that way, and I know some of you will disagree, but in general, money comes a little easier nowadays. So don't ever forget your roots and where you came from, because that makes you who you are. That defines you as a person. Let the struggles that you've had in the past, fuel your fire, if you will. All right, so check this out. So this was the road at the top of the hill. This is where we would race from, or my dad would anyway. I was too young back then, but right up here, these houses were not here back in the day. We would start from right here, and we would race down this road, and I would ride my bike right over here on the side of the road, all the way down to up here. Now remember, there were no houses out here back then. But I would ride my little mini bike all the way down here just to watch my dad race. I just want to hold the phone so you can see just how far I would ride my little dirt bike down here. And yeah. And then I would come in right here through the ditch, down the driveway, and head back to the house back there. I never show you guys these cars, but there's my 67 GTA and a Mercury Monterey. That car is actually really nice. We've had it on video a couple times before. So also I ended up over at Justin's house, and we were working on a Mustang that he's got over there. I didn't shoot any video. That wasn't what today was about. Justin's a good friend of mine, and I was just over trying to help him out. But one of the things that I want to remind you guys of is your ECT sensor and your ACT sensor. If those things go bad, they will cause a car to idle like crap, sometimes even sound like it's got a big cam in it. I should have took at least a little snippet of video on this, but just trust me, this car is running super rich, and it sounds like it's got a cam in it. It sounds like it's got a vacuum leak. But with it running super rich, that pretty much tells you that that's not the case. Typically, you'll be lean if you have a vacuum leak. The ECT sensor was actually bad in the car, and we had been messing with this thing. We replaced EEC relay, computer, checked the TPS, regulator, everything, BAP sensor, mass air, new injectors in the car, and it still just sounded like it had a big cam in it. So anyway, the point is, the ECT sensor, which is the engine coolant temp sensor, the one that the computer reads, not your gauge sensor. Those are two completely different things. But anyway, it was bad, causing the car to basically idle like crap. And we just got lucky, because that's kind of out of the norm on how these sensors usually work. Typically, once the car warms up, they run better. But for whatever reason, not this car. But I'm gonna go ahead east of the house. Sorry I didn't get you guys any other footage, but yeah, sometimes it just bees that way. So I just ran up with Ray with his Fox body. I'm telling you guys, there's just Fox bodies all over the place. People still drive them everywhere around here. So